great information and talk about next steps. Is that okay?
Yes.
Awesome. So first and foremost, I want to absolutely give a heartfelt thank you to NCNW and leadership. You guys know I love you guys. Thank you so much for your leadership. Let's just give them a round of applause. I didn't get that presentation, Economic Leadership Council presentation on the screen. And we wanted to take the time to honor the leadership because it's the leadership of organizations like this that get things done. Right? We could come, we could have so many subject matter experts come and share so much great information, but it's about who's leading in the community, who can galvanize the community, organize the community, and bring real information, tangible information that we can apply to our daily lives. So again, thank you, Ms. Springfield. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pastor Boyd, for allowing us to have this conversation in your church. I know we were here prior to the pandemic. We were gearing up and we got locked down, but happy to be here again. Awesome. So, I'm representing, for those of you that may or may not know me, I'm a former lifelong resident here in Southeast Queens, former Director of Economic Development for State Senator James Sanders, who serves as the Chair of Banking for New York State, as well as the Chair of MWBE. So prior, I worked in the legislature for over 5 years, overseeing his initiatives on behalf of the 10th Senatorial District, which is here in Southeast Queens, all things banking, all things MWBE. My very first project, and I left the DA's office to work in that particular position to specifically be a subject matter expert in economic development and policy. So very excited about the work we were able to do. Had an opportunity to run in a special election alongside Councilwoman Slovena Brooks. Of course, she won. We are partners. We support her, representing our great community. And now we are running this great organization. Happy to be here and share this information with you guys. So that's my background. I'm a CUNY grad. Okay, hey. CUNY grad, my master's in urban policy, my bachelor's in public administration. I have an associate's as well, and I've been across the country on Chase scholarships doing community development certifications. So I am a subject matter expert, an urban planner, and very passionate about the information I'm going to share with you guys. So who is the Economic Leadership Council? This organization, I was able to found this organization January of 2020. Who we are just a program of global leaders with a desire to drive social transformation and innovation through shared content and engagement, such as events like this. Our #1 goal is to provide a safe space for new discussions with critical thinkers like yourselves who seek change in areas, transformation in areas of public policy, community, business, and of course the global economy. We're going to talk about, as a lot of the information we'll share today, why this is so important. So I wanted to set the stage by talking about the fourth, I'm sorry, next slide. I'm sliding on my computer thinking I'm controlling this. Did y'all see that? Oh man, next slide please. Sorry guys. So I wanted to set the stage by talking about the fourth industrial revolution. Have anybody heard of it? Fourth industrial economy, right? So that's what we're in now, right? So we talk about global lockdown, right? It was a global lockdown, but it was also an economic shift, a complete economic shift. And we have to know that we're in that shift now, and we have an opportunity to be ahead of that curve, right? So the fourth industrial economy is basically what it is it's modernizing all of the industries and infusing technology in almost everything. How many people see what's happening in the retail industry, where people are being replaced by autonomous machines, right? Are you going to the teller now, or are you going to the kiosk, right? Let's look at even the parking machines. You see it's being more automated. This is the world that we're going into. When we talk about banking and banking opportunities, how many people heard of the term fintech? How many people are dealing with mobile money? Cryptocurrency, right? This is where things are going in all industries, right? So that is the gist of what the fourth economy is, and when we think about it, what does it look like? It looks like disruption to jobs, right? You see that. How many people know someone who lost their job, or technology transformed how their job operates? I show of hands, yes? Okay, innovation and productivity. Inequality. How many people see so much inequality growing now because of the pandemic, right? These are things that are being exposed because now we're shifting to another stage of our economy. Next slide, please. I love this presentation. This is just to give an illustration. I just want you to imagine when we talk about economic development, what is economic development when we think about it? It sounds like a very strong word. What does that mean? We're talking about all this information. I like to simplify economic development and community development. Economic development is the production and consumption of goods and services. The production and consumption of goods and services. So what does that mean? It's either we're producing a good or service, or we're consuming a good or service, right? That's all economic development is. And if we want to be in a position of power, we want to make sure that our communities and our people and families are positioned more on the production side, yes? Yes. Okay, that's what we're talking about today, because this is empowerment, yes? All right, awesome. So here, this is a model. When we think about community development, economic development, you see the economy is that core, right? That's that core function. Oftentimes you don't see it. I know Pastor Boyd, this is a church, a faith-based institution, right? But also this is an infrastructure that has a lot to do with the economy, right? This is a business in its own stuff. There's some technical things behind the scenes that has to get done for us to even create this environment to worship, yes? So the economy is a very critical part of our daily lives but we don't see it. So because we don't see it, we don't know how it operates, yes? But then we have that outer core. Sometimes we can see it a little bit more broadly. We have society. What is society? We have culture, education, governance, health, justice. We talked about some of these things, right? And then we have that outer core, which we always see when we wake up, right, is the environment. We talked about a lot of things about the environment today. Our air, when we wake up in the morning, we hear the birds, we feel the air, we see the sun, right? This is our environment. This is all, but these three core triple bottom lines is what the global economy, global leaders call it. This triple bottom line is so important to the sustainability of our communities moving forward. So when we think about economic development, when we talk about community development, it's important to look at it in these three specific factors: economy, society, and our environment, right? And we know Southeast Queens, we have areas like Far Rockaway that has a lot of environmental challenges. We as a community here in Southeast Queens have some environmental challenges because of our point access to the airport and air quality and things like that. So it's important for us when we talk about economic development to look at it from this three-pronged perspective. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. All right, awesome. So I wanted to share this information because when we talk about economic empowerment and development, I want us to be very clear on what our political capital is. Does anybody know what political capital is? Or can define what political capital is? Or what you think political capital is? Right, you vote for how many people vote? How many people are registered to vote and how many people vote? Right, you vote for a reason, right? You vote because you want to see change, you want to see outcome, you want to have a representative advocating for your needs, your basic human needs, yes? Okay, awesome. So this is some information that we pulled from a paper that published this information. So Southeast Queens back Hochul in big numbers. So I share this information because we want to encourage when you come into rooms of power and these meetings, it's okay to ask and even demand for what you want. You want to know why? Because you put them in the seat. And here's the numbers to prove it, right? So Southeast Queens District 29, how many folks by show of hands live in District 29? Assembly District 29, awesome. Okay, look, you got 22,000 people. 22,000 residents here in Southeast Queens voted, right? How many people as compared to 2,000 for the Republican Party? How many people live in District 31? District 31, our council member was just here talking about the district. How many people from District 31? Okay, we have a few. Look, we have 14,000 people came out in that community, right? How many people live in District 32? 18,000. So this is an example. This is that data point that you need when you show up in meetings and you're asking, you're demanding for what you want for your community, and someone may give you a little pushback and say, well, we can't do this. I look at the numbers and say, I beg to differ. Yes or yes? Yes. Okay. Next slide, please. I serve in another role with the New York City Districting Commission. We just redrew the political power structure for the city. And I wanted to share this with you guys because it is a map of the demographics of New York City alone. So here in this brown, I want you guys to see that that represents communities that are majority black. So I'm going to we have the white represents communities are majority white. The green is majority Latino, and the purple there is majority Asian. So, and it's important to talk about race because race is a part of demographics, and demographics and census dictate how dollars and budgets flow. Yes? Is that fair? So sometimes people say, well, why are we always talking about race? If you're not talking about race, when we're talking about community development and economic development, you're missing a mark. Okay? So we can feel safe. Sometimes we say even the term minorities. When you're being specific about economic development and dollars, you want to be very clear about who and what you're talking about. So you can speak correctly by talking to the data and the demographics, okay? So I want you guys to see what that looks like. And this map here to the left is the 2010 census, and this map to the right is what the city looks like today in 2020. So not too much changes in our community here in Southeast Queens. If you see Southeast Queens, is the far right. So not too many changes, but a lot of projected changes to come. Next slide, please. It's very important when we talk about community development and economic empowerment that we know the facts. Yeah? So many people love the facts. Right? Some people can come up, you can say a lot of things, but how many people believe that numbers speak for themselves? And the data don't lie. All right, good. So we talk about Southeast Queens. Southeast Queens is a part of the 5th Congressional District. How many people know who our congressman? Congressman Neese is our congressional representative for the 5th Congressional District. The 5th Congressional District represents all of what we call Southeast Queens, okay? So who are we? We are a community of over 819,000 people. 819,000 people, 51 square miles of real estate, all that prime real estate that the other gentleman came here and talked about. We have 51 miles of real estate of this community that represents homeowners, business corridors, and even a manufacturing hub, and that also includes JFK Airport. Our median age is 39 years old, where our baby boomers, our loving baby boomers are the top majority, and then we have like our Gen X's and then our Gen Z's. 52% of the community is represented by women. Hello, women in the room. You are a majority here in this community in Southeast Queens. When we talk about the diversity of New York City, that's fantastic. But when we talk about Southeast Queens diversity, Southeast Queens is a minority community, right? We make up over 75% of minorities, Black, brown, Hispanic, and Asian. 43% of that market is Black, yes? Then we have 10% white, 15% Asian, and 21% of our Hispanic community. So fully represented here in Southeast Queens. Next slide, please. I keep pressing the thing thinking I'm doing it. If we can go to the per capita number. I wanted to share this with you guys because our median household income is around $77,000. So you guys do very well. I think a lot of things, another thing we need to mention is that when we talk about the Black community across the nation, how many people heard the story about Black wealth? Southeast Queens has its own Black wealth, right? We probably take it for granted, but when we compare our data to Black communities that has a 40% Black population higher across this country, no one's really doing as well as you in terms of the data, right? You bring a per capita income of $30,000. The median household income here is $77,000, and we have a poverty level of 13%, which is pretty high, but I think below the national number. Next slide, please. Go back, I'm sorry, I keep looking at my computer. I wanted to share this. It's a little off, you can't really see the side, but this is the data of our home ownership, our household, our median value of owner-occupied housing units. So a lot of people raised their hands. How many people said that they were business homeowners? Right, so your median value of your home, according to the census, is over $600,000. Yep, over $600,000. But now I wanted to put, if you guys see this presentation here, this is in real time. This is just a recent article that was published by this newspaper that talks about Southeast Queens having the highest number of foreclosures in this quarter. Thank you. So when we talk about empowerment, we're doing well, but there's areas that we need to improve. Here, I wanted to highlight just what's happening in our youth. How many people saw that story online about the 33 gang member takedown, which is being considered the largest gang takedown in our community? So you know those 33 kids came from this community, right? So I wanted to add this data here because that's very unfortunate. I'm saddened to see that because with a community that's just so wealthy like Southeast Queens, to me, I feel like we failed those kids and their families. It's 33 young black men that could be in college here listening to this information, and they're behind bars and they're going to be there for a long time. So there's a reflection point that we need to have as a community. Unless we don't think we're a part of this community, we don't think that those are our children too. So here, but if you look at the number of unemployment rates of workers aged 16 to 24 by race and ethnicity, you can see here when we think about unemployment rates in terms of our youth between 16 and 24, blacks are at 20%. All right, 20%, and the highest number of our Hispanic communities are even at 22%. So that's a high number of unemployment. All studies show that when you have a number of unemployment that high, that there's going to be violence. It's a correlation. Poverty is a correlation to violence, a correlation to a lot of injustices that happens in urban communities. So for those of you that are in different spaces around community development, even criminal justice, when we think about our youth and programming and education, if we don't provide job opportunities to our kids, we will have more of these stories. Next slide, please. We will have more of these stories, and I don't think we want Southeast Queens to be known as the largest place where a gang takedown happened for kids ages 16 to 22. We're better than that. Next slide, please. Okay, really quick, in my last 2 minutes, I have to go into this part, which is, next slide, please. Banking. Who gets CRAs and CBAs for your community? And I wanted to go last because the councilwoman shared great information. Then we had Rach, who's representing the Port Authority, shared great information. And I kind of want to tie it into what your call of action is based on all that information that was shared today, especially as it relates to the airport, because it was, I told you I served with Senator Sanders. JFK was my first project. We actually developed the JFK, created the JFK Redevelopment Advisory Council, which was led, then hosted, facilitated by our Councilwoman Williams and our Councilwoman Sylvia Brooks Power. So now we're in a unique opportunity with our new political capital, right? To make the demands that we want, right? So I'm going to go quickly into CRAs and CBAs. Before I do that, guys, I want you to write down, this is another organization I'm a part of. It's called Bank Black USA. We're a global think, we're a national think tank that's been in existence for the past 8 years, where we provide we make financial education easily digestible to communities and policymakers. So you can write down that website, go to www.bankblackusa.gov. There's a wealth of information. If you want to volunteer, even have us come out and do different presentations around banking, we're able to do that. Bank Black USA. Oh, next slide, please. So one, I wanted to talk about, someone mentioned earlier about the Community Reinvestment Act. When we talk about banking and how to get access to capital in our communities. So CRA was one of the first policies that I had to learn and master serving under the chair of banking, because CRA is a federal policy that was designated in 1977 to minimize how to mandate all financial institutions to create products and services that meet the needs of their service market area. Does that make sense? So what that means is that basically this policy requires for your financial institution to provide lending opportunities, products and services that meet your needs. So, for example, let's say if this is a community where 70% of the community has a credit score of 600. We heard a gentleman talk earlier about how you have to have a specific type of credit score to qualify for certain products. Well, according to this legislation, certain advocates in communities, you can advocate for particular policies that you need based off the data in your community. So it's not about, if it doesn't help if you have an institution giving you products and services that you don't qualify for. How many people had that experience? How many people go to programs and qualify and go through and say, oh, sorry, you don't qualify? How about we reverse that and we create the policies and the programs that you actually do qualify for? It's possible. So CRA is very important. The Community Reinvestment Act, enacted in 1977, requires the Federal Reserve and other federal banking regulators to encourage financial institutions to help meet the credit needs of the communities in which they do business, including low to moderate income communities. I showed you our income data. We are a LMI community. Yes, so this qualifies. I have limited time, so I'm going to wrap up. Also, when you have a problem with a banking institution, and I'm speaking, I've done this in the legislature. I've helped community groups leverage CRA to help bring access to their various, organizations. So I'm telling you, it works. It's a technical tool. See, policy is enforced by advocacy. So we have so many policies, but if you don't have churches like leaders like Pastor Boyd and leaders here, you're not going to be able to really tap into what the policy is supposed to do. So it starts by education, because once you know how the policy works, you know how to advocate for the policy, and you know how to get out of it what you want and hold those accountable that's supposed to give it to you. Yes? I'm going fast, guys. Let me just wrap up. So 3 banking regulators. How many people know what the 3 banking regulators are? So if you ever had a problem with a bank, well, I know Vivi does, right? And Vivi represents, Greater Jamaica is a CDFI, right? Community Development Financial Institution, right? Which gives more access to communities like ours to get that access to capital. You did a great job on that presentation, Vivi. So the banking regulators, there's the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the Federal Reserve Board, and the Office of Comptroller of Currency. So these are 3 banking regulators that you can call. You can even make a report. If you ever have a problem with a financial institution, you can write to these organizations your complaint, and it's documented in their file. So when banks say that they want to merge, if they want to expand, if they want to get more access to capital, they have to have a good CRA grade. So we have, as a community, have to be great at documenting how well these banks are serving our communities. And if they're not serving, then we need to put it in their file. And when it's time for them to, the regulators have to come and reevaluate them, they'll think twice about how they're servicing us. Yes? Really quickly, we talked about CBAs. Community benefit agreement is signed by community benefit groups and by a developer, identifying the community benefits a developer agrees to deliver. I'm going to break this down really quick. So we talked about JFK. How many of you guys remember an attempt to create a CBA back in 2016 for jail? No, it's Spring Mellows, right? So we did that. For those of you that don't know, we went around, we had 2 years of organizing this community. We were here with Pastor Boyd, we spoke with the community boards, and we organized and we did this series of design thinking workshops to actually figure out what does this community want to get out of, back then, a $13 billion project. Now we're 6-7 years later, it's $19 billion. And as the representative shared this morning, we're behind on our goals. So, it's events like this that's going to have to keep us moving forward. 2 things I want to say, that there was an attempt CBA. If everyone Google JFK Community Benefits Agreement, it's on the public website. This was championed by a lot of the community leaders in the room. It didn't go far, but I would encourage everyone to read the document at least. It is public. JFK Redevelopment, JFK Community Benefits Agreement is online. We released it online several years ago, and it was that preliminary framework that we got from these design thinking workshops in the community to see what we wanted. And the dollar amount, I think, was about $350 million we have requested for Port Authority to provide funding opportunities for those 4 levels: businesses, education, and really build the capacity of those programs that we talked about. So this is something that is very possible. You heard the councilwoman talk about, she hosted a hearing with the Port Authority just last month, but she did. It was phenomenal. And even the Port Authority said that it's possible. But again, it has to be a conversation that we have. Next slide, please. I'm going to wrap up, but I want to show you guys this real quick. Next slide. Okay, 2 things. I'm going to close out with these 2 pictures, so I want you guys to see. So prior, we talk about community benefits agreements under major development projects. So Southeast Queens is what the industry calls a host community. You're a host community to the airport, which means they have to come through you to get to that airport, to do anything to that airport. Anything that happens into the airport in terms of environment, any construction, it impacts you, your daily life, right? So if you're a host community, that's why your opinions and your feelings matter to developers, right? So typically, without a CBA, development agreements go like this. You have the developers, the private developers, you have the city, which is your elected officials, and then you have your community groups. You guys are here, clergy, civic organizations, homeowners, businesses. And the community advocates are talking to the city, the developers are talking to the city, and the community is not a part of the development process. This has changed. This dynamic has changed, right? So we're not operating. How many people agree this may not be as that effective?
It's not.
It's not effective, right? It's not effective. Next slide, please. What we want to get better at is this. What we have to get better at is this. How developments work with a CBA. Now remember, you get it to define what CBA, what benefits mean. Benefits for this church may be different from the benefits for your small business in another block. We have to define and quantify what benefits we need, right? So here, everyone's working together. We're breaking down the silos. So you have your advocates, you have your churches, you have your pastors, your businesses. Not only are you talking and negotiating with your city representative, your city, state, federal representatives, but you're also talking to the developers. They're having events now, they're having events at Greater Nexus all the time where they're actually bringing the developers to the rooms to meet with the contractors. So you don't even have to go directly to your representative, go directly to the developer, and then if you have some type of conflict or you need an advocate, then you can go to your representative. But it needs to be a free-flowing conversation to get our community in position. But community benefits are championed by the community. It's not elected officials, and it's not the developer, right? And if we don't ask for something, we won't receive. And there's a biblical word for that I'm not going to try to read right now. But I know.
Much is given, much is required.
Amen. Amen on that one. So that, and then I think the last slide. So that's my time. I went way over my time, but I think this information was important. And I want to thank you guys. Please follow us on social media and Instagram. Our Instagram is at economic_leadership_council_. We're also on Twitter at economicleader2. And our office is located at the brand new Greater Nexus site that we are renting. And we were sponsored by a small business owner. Shout out to Lima Owens, who sponsored the Economic Leadership Council for commercial space. So we are operating now out on the 4th floor, so you guys are able to see us. And I just want to acknowledge Felix Namazuzi, the Vice President of Marketing for ELC, and we have a great team and we're continuing to build. So thank you guys again. Look forward to building more of these conversations and closing the welfare.
Such a great wealth of information and statistics. Any questions? There's one question back there. Question?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sadiqa Codrington-Crosskey. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. And I'm grateful to be here to hear all the presentations and the presenters. A question for you, LaToya. I know I speak with you all the time, but one of the examples that I heard from your presentation regarding the developers, for example, like we have this beautiful resorts casino, correct? And we also have the Hyatt. Did anyone know about, and if you could tell me, did anyone know about the development of the Hyatt? Because during the time we were all sleeping in lockdown, that beautiful casino and that beautiful hotel just popped up. I was just wondering if you knew anything about or heard anything, or the community, did they receive any information about that? And how can we prevent things like that from happening again? Because more minorities need to be on these contracts, more opportunities need to be from those contracts. So I just wanted to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah, thank you. And thank Sadiqa for being here. Sadiqa plays many roles and is a great supporter. So what I would say the best way for the community to be aware is to stay close to 2 agencies, a city agency and a state agency. The city agency would be New York City Economic Development Corporation, and if you just follow their news and publications, NYC EDC oversees all of the economic development initiatives at the city level, and then EDC at the state as well. So between the city EDC and the state EDC, if you look at their press release, because it's often, the devil's always in the details, right? So if you always just go to these websites and look at their press releases, oftentimes you'll find this information hidden there. But then also the Economic Leadership Council, where we're going to be doing quarterly events, where we're going to be bringing this information like this to the community for awareness purposes as well.
And other companies like Bartlett Dairy, who's going to be building up in our community, we need to find out more about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We could add that to the list. Thank you, Sadiqa. Do we have any other questions?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My question is, all the presentation was wonderful and all the, like, I go to the church, so that's how we know about, all of this. So I live in the Bronx, so I came just so I could hear what's going on. I wasn't gonna come, but the Holy Spirit said, get here, so I got here. So all this information is good, and I hear everybody say, well, I'm doing these little support things to spread it, but it's still not getting to the communities. Because if I wasn't going to the church and my pastor says, come, we're doing this, I wouldn't have known about it. And so our communities are not really getting this information who really needs it. So unless we are like, when it's time for voting, because we want our votes, they come into the communities, they do the one-on-one small areas, and so the people know what's going on. How are you, all of you guys that did this, it was on the panels, going into the communities so we could know about what's going on, whether it's on the news or on the flyers or something, because we're getting lost. Even though with all this wealth, we're not getting it, and we're not seeing it, and we're never going to get it because it's not coming to us in our.
Great question. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for being here from the Bronx. Thank you for sharing. So, two things. So, when I was saying join the Economic Leadership Council, make sure you have your contact information. The other thing I want to just talk about accountability. We have to change our mindset, and it's all hands on deck. Okay, so we have to be able to share the information. You cannot lean. The elected officials, they have to be in the chambers and governing policy. Right, so I think we put having worked for an elected official and having run for office, I can say that we have a misconception about what the role of elected officials are. You are the community. You put them there. It's your community. It's your life. We have a role to play in these chambers. We have a role to play in our advocacy, and we also have a role to play in how the information is being shared within our community. So I would say let's start now. We can't look at the past. I'm a millennial, so I can't talk about should, coulda, woulda, could, then. I can't do it. But we can talk about how we're going to move forward. So you're here now. We're going to stay in contact, and you can go back to that. You can even talk to your representative in the Bronx, your clergy in the Bronx, and ask them, hey, take a look at Pastor Boyd's church. Take a look at the Women Negro Council Association. Look at what they're doing. See, can we model this? Even I'm pretty sure the leadership will love to even come to work and be subject matter speakers and talk to other organizations in the Bronx about how they were able to sustain for all of these years, because they've been doing this since before I was born. Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to say that we have an NCNW Bronx section. So what I can do is put you in touch with them and see what they're doing. Because I'm sure they're doing great things just like we are doing. It's just that we are Queens County section, and this is what we do, Not to brag about us, but we are like the #1 section in the city, because we do all kinds of outreaches on various subjects, education, cultural arts, and so on and so forth. But economic development is our heart. So I can give you the president's name of the Queens County Section Bronx later on, as soon as I see you all the time. But thank you so much for that question. That's really important. Latoya, thank you again. Thank you again. And we're about to wrap up.